The Porcelain Tower event is here, and it's one of my personal favorite events we've ever had in War of the Visions. Welcome back, guys, to the channel. Thank you guys once again for spending some of your time here today as we go over the Porcelain Tower, some hints and tips for just the general use of the tower, as well as some more specific tips for the tower. Thank you guys so much for the support via Patreon, as well as the YouTube channel membership support. So let's get into the tower here, what it is that you're looking at, exactly how the tower works, as well as some specifics for the EX stages. I'll have some gameplay footage later on if you guys want to watch out how I did EX10 as well as EX19 and a little bit of the normal floor 20. But tower, this is going to be a little bit different. You won't see the same rewards that you'll get for the first clear, but the floors will still be the same because I've already cleared the tower and I have been in the process of re-clearing the tower here. So tower, basically you're going to, in general, you're going to be using units to defeat different sorts of enemies and different sorts of enemies that are weak against certain types of damage or different elements, or they have different mechanics on the floors. And what is going to be happening is, as you're clearing the tower, your characters will stay damaged and they will not get the uses of their abilities back. Your TP and AP will reset per floor, but your skill abilities won't, and their health will not. So what's going to happen here is you're going to be in this process of, depending on how strong your characters are, depending on how new you are to the game, etc., you're going to be able to easily clear these early floors, right? Level 20 monsters, 20 monsters, 25 monsters, 25 monsters, and then 45, and then it's going to start getting a little bit harder, a little bit harder. You're going to have to start using your skills, you start taking more damage, and each person is going to hit a different breakpoint depending on the strength of their account. So what happens when all your characters are dead or defeated and you're all done with the how far you can go in the tower? So once you are there, or once per day, basically, depending on when you started playing the tower, you'll see down here where it says surviving units that I have 26 out of 26 fully recovered units. If you click this button, it will save where you are in the tower. It will save the damage that you've done to the enemies if you were defeated on the floor. All that it's going to do, it's going to fully heal all of your allies, and it's going to give them all of their ability uses back on their character. So the general run of the mill for what you're going to be doing on the tower is you're just going to progress as much as you can until you can't go anymore. Right, and then when you die, when you fall out, you'll be able to just wait a little bit, restart up, and start back right where you've left off. The amount of damage you've done to the enemy that you failed on, you'll be able to whittle them down there, and it's just going to become this progressively harder thing as you grow up the tower. I know a lot of you guys may have already known that. That was just the introduction to the tower. So some things that you can do, right? Generic things for the tower here. Obviously, level 15 is where you are going to get the Rain's Sword, the Crimson Saber. I did a video on that today as well. It either is coming out after this one or it's already been released. If you want to see that video, check out the channel for that. I'll have a link to that down below for you guys there. And the other thing that you can do is, if you're getting to these higher tier towers, you're going to want to kind of go in there and experiment around with them. And there is a ranking, but the ranking thing doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. There's no like score. There's nothing crazy of that nature as far as rewards for ranking in a certain thing. There's just no ranking rewards. So what you can do here is, even though your rank is kind of penalized by it, if you go in and you mess around a little bit, you say, you know what, this isn't really working out for me, you will actually be able to hit retreat, and it'll give you back all your health that you spent in that battle. It'll give you back all your AP, all your skills used, all of that stuff. You can just kind of go back in there again. So that's going to be a big tip number one for you guys as you're going up through the tower. You're going to want to experiment with each of these different floors because they are all very unique in what they require from you and the way you are going to want to go around and beating. In addition to the ability to be able to back out of these fights that you're going in to test out, you're going to need to utilize the ability information and the sort of floor information that each of these floor details. A little bit of a subscript here will tell you, right? It recommends Toad Resistance Black Mage because this floor right here, a lot of these enemies are going to be weak to a certain element or a certain damage type, and they're also going to be hitting you with this Toad status ailment. So a lot of these floors are going to tell you exactly the sort of gimmick that each of these battles are going to hit you with. Some of the earlier floors are much easier. Obviously, there's a bunch of ice units here, so the floor detail is use a fire unit. So you'll be able to go in there and do some damage with it, mess around a little bit, feel free to use the retreat command so you can come back out, reorganize, reutilize, and reset up your characters there. Whatever it is that you want to use, you can use all your different characters in whatever sort of iteration that you want at any time that you want. When you go in, for example here, right, hit challenge, you can have multiple different parties here. You can even have the same character in 2 different parties. You can have different gear on different characters, or the same gear on different characters between the 2 parties. You can do that. Now, in addition to being able to kind of back out to save your characters from just sort of being defeated by a floor you weren't prepared for, or using too many skills, or whatever it is that you want to do there, you also can, in here, right, you can change your different sub-jobs. And this is actually going to be a very, very relevant thing for the tower at all times, because remember, guys, your skill uses, they don't come back until that daily reset. But if you change your sub-job here, you'll gain access to different skills. And because the skills are different, you could, you know, for instance, for Ayaka here, I could put her on sub-job White Mage, and that's going to give her additional heals, right? She's going to get Kirata, she's going to get Raise, she's going to get Protect and Shell. Additional abilities that I can use on that character. You can do this for a lot of different characters, right? We have a bunch of different characters that have different damage dealing skills on different sub-jobs, or different supports, or different healing abilities, or different tanking abilities. And that's going to allow you to sort of flesh out the longevity of your team over the course of multiple battles there, because you're going to be able to utilize them as a healer in 1 fight, or 2 fights, or 3 fights as you climb up the tower, and then change them into a damage dealer if they have that, or a different sort of support, and make them more of a supporting role, and change someone else to a sub healer for different floors and things of that nature. So that's going to be a big thing for you guys there. That helped me out a ton as I tried to climb up the floors, and actually helped me get really, really high on day 1, because I had a bunch of the different sub-jobs leveled up for all of my characters, and I basically had, like, you know, an extra half a character basically, because I leveled up all the different sub-jobs on my characters. The other thing to notice here is that as you're climbing the tower here, you'll see floor 10 here is an EX floor. EX floors are different than the normal tower. If I were to go into this EX floor, it's sort of like a sub thing. It doesn't really penalize you, right? You don't go in with damaged characters. You kind of go in with a fresh team, a fresh set of ideas here, and they are actually really fun floors. The first one here is the X10 floor. There's lots of ways to beat this one. You can eliminate all the white mages before they get to their gimmick, which is for them to get to the portal and sacrifice themselves, and it summons a bunch of Aramons. You'll see that demonstrated later on with the way that I did EX floor 10. So you can either defeat all the white mages, defeat all the Aramons after they spawn, or there's going to be one leftover teleporter spot at the very end, and after they've sacrificed themselves or whatever, you can get a character. If you can get a character to the other side of the board and stand in the teleporter, it'll defeat all of the remaining Aramons. You'll automatically complete the floor there, which is the way that I did it there. And then floor 19 here is it's a bit of a doozy. It's a bit of a doozy here, the EX. Once you see it, it's against Stern and a bunch of Iron Giants, and I didn't do it the way that it was intended. They want you to bring a Toad user. I didn't bring anyone with Toad, but you can do it in a lot of different ways. It's pretty fun. It's pretty overbearing, though. It's got a lot of Marlboros and Iron Giant, triple Iron Giant, double Marlboro, 2 ninjas and Stern, and everything's really hard hitting. It's fun, but it's gonna take a couple of tries for you guys to get it done. That's why Porcelain Tower is my favorite thing. So the last thing I want to talk about real quick for a generic sort of thing before I go through each floor is don't get discouraged, right? If it takes you a couple tries to, you know, do the floors as you approach like floor 13, 14, 15. That's when it starts to actually get moderately difficult. As you can see, we have level 50 enemies still on floor 12, level 60 on 13, 60 on 14, 15 becomes 70, and then you get 70s and 72s and 18s and 19s and 20s. So do that as well. Make sure you don't get discouraged. You have a lot of remaining time to do this event, because the main reward is on floor 15. It is the sword itself, and you want to be able to beat 20 eventually. Once you beat 20, you'll be able to reset the Porcelain Tower here for free for the first time. So you'll have everything reset. Make sure you try to clear the EXs if you want to clear those before you reset, and you'll start back at floor 1. And what you'll be able to do is climb back up, and if you can get back up to around floor 14, 15 again, you'll have enough currency to buy all of the awakened materials for the Crimson Saber. So try to defeat it up to 20, and then up to 15 again. And remember, it's not that big of a deal because floors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? You can go in there, you can do auto attack damage and defeat a lot of these enemies because they are, you know, level 20, 30, things of that nature. So a lot easier to do that. And then you can slowly climb back up, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then be done with it after that. So that's a big thing to take note of for these floors here. So the first couple floors that we'll talk about here, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are all really easy. 6, 7, 8, these are pretty simple. You'll start getting into 9. This might be, I've seen a lot of people, this is going to be the first one because there's a lot of mages and they're level 40 now. Their HP pools can be pretty significant. The other thing that I saw with significant HPs is these cactars are pretty tanky here. They will use 1,000 needles. They do have really high defense. Make sure you take them out one at a time because they work like normal cactars. They can come up, hit you for 1,000 damage. You don't want to take too many of those before you beat them. But once you start getting up to these floors here, like 9 and then normal 10 here, or the EX10 and then 11, you're going to want to make use of, once you get to these harder floors, as you go to load in, do not put it on auto battle and use initial placement. This is going to allow you to mess around with where your characters are. And I'll do this for an example here. I'm not actually going in to do this floor. But the later floors, they will punish you for not having the initial placement on because they will separate where your characters are from each other across the map. Now, this floor might not be that big of a deal, but you can kind of see it already, right? I have 3 characters here and 2 characters way over here. Some later floors, right, you'll start with characters on the low ground in a building somewhere, and then your other squadron of characters will be up like on a top floor area, you know, way up here. Not even on the same level, but on a top floor way up here. There's going to be a lot of enemies, like 8 or 9 dudes. You need your tank up there. You have to sort of coordinate from the go of what you want to happen here. This one's not too bad. You can see there's, you know, quite a few more enemies around this sort of range, right? The wolf's like right up in my face versus the wolf's a little bit farther back over here. But this is something that you definitely want to take note of here as you get into these higher floors. You definitely want to make use of the ability for you to change out where your characters are. You can put anyone in any of those yellow squares. So keep that in mind. And I'll show you right here. I'll retreat. And nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to hit me with a game over, right? But none of my characters are dead. It didn't give me an F for failure for the run. I don't have to start all over or anything crazy like that. But you'll be able to take a peek at a floor like that and then back out and see exactly what it is that you need to do there. So when you start getting into these floors up here, right, it's going to be pretty easy. Anytime you sort of see a thief, they're going to be a dodgy type character, and you kind of want to play to the element that you see. So if you see earth characters and these thieves are dodgy, if you have any sort of wind damage, that's going to help. Any sort of accuracy gear, that's going to help, right? Things of that nature there. If you see this right here, right, it says a light element magic attacker. So it wants you to do light magic damage because these things are going to be weak to light elemental magic damage. So things like Holy, very strong, or Banish Blade, etc., things of that. And then it says the enemy uses many HP draining attacks. There's nothing you can really do against HP draining attacks. Just kind of know that it's going to be a little bit of a longer fight there. But you won't know exactly the map layout. It's not going to show you that until you kind of go in there. That's why I suggest, once again, the retreat command here. This is a bunch of zoos, so obviously you're going to want to do a bunch of ice elements. So this is sort of stuff kind of speaks for itself earlier on. And then once you get into the higher ones, right, you can see that it recommends ice element, but now there's some white mages in there. Nothing super crazy so far. But then this is the one that kind of trips up a lot of people, is floor 15. This is where it starts getting kind of hard because this has the toad and the black mages. So it recommends black mages and it recommends toad resistance. You'd say, why does it recommend exactly black mages? That's because, fun fact for tactics, if you are turned into a toad and you cast the toad spell on someone who is a toad, you can turn them back into a person. So that's why it recommends a black mage here, because these black mages are going to try to turn your team into toads. So you have your black mage hang in the back and use toad on your already toaded people to untoad them, basically. So same sort of similar thing there, a little bit of a long battle. A lot of people get hung up on the toad thing. This one right here, this is going to be one of the first ones. It's the thing that I was talking about. This can severely punish you for not using initial placement, because this is going to have you in that 2 of your people are going to start in a room way down low, surrounded by like 4 dudes, and then 3 of your people are going to start way up high, and there's no way that you can get, you know, your 2 party members sort of together, your 2 squads together. You have to sort of carefully pick where you want people to start at. You cannot have everyone start in one spot. You're sort of limited to maximum 3 or 4 in one spot, but that other dude, if you have 4 in one spot, the other dude is soloing by himself up there. So this is a hard one as well. There's a lot of enemies. You can see there's 12, 13 enemies in here for you. There's different varying types. There's archers up top. I would suggest that if you want to be as aggressive as possible, it'll be up top while you kind of have like a tank and a healer try to hold their own down in the bottom. That's something that you can do there. And it suggests just lightning element. If you have, Orlando, this floor is gonna be a lot easier for you. A strong lightning element character doesn't have to be Orlando, but anyone that you've worked on that's a lightning element character that you've invested time into, you've leveled their jobs up, their abilities. It could be any lightning character because everyone in here is going to be a water element character except for this lone white mage there. So make sure that you use the initial placement on this floor, or it's going to be a lot harder for you than it probably should. This one here, right, you can see everyone's earth, and it says Pierce Attacker Earth. I haven't followed the strict guidelines for all of the floors. I kind of have done everything just with the same sort of 2 different groups. You saw me there earlier kind of going through them. And you kind of want to just same sort of tactics. You kind of want to get your characters together and just kind of like hold your own, right? Create like a wall, right? Have your healers be safe. Don't let the enemies get behind your front line, right? If anyone tries to get behind you, if like a samurai tries to come up or a ninja or something, just sort of make sure that your healers can sit back and heal and do some damage, because you're going to want to use healing on these later floors, because these enemies, they're level 70. That's nothing super crazy high, right? They're not level 99 or anything yet. But they have pretty significant HP pools, right? The characters get up to 7k, 8k, 9k HP, and this is going to start turning into like a little bit of a grind. You have to play smart, and it's fun because it's actually tacticsy, and I actually like it quite a lot. Now this floor here, 18, as you can see, everything here is fire, so they're going to want you to bring water. And then this one right here, other enemies are divided into groups by low resistances to magic, slashing, and piercing. Pay special attention to your formation's initial placement. This even goes out of the way to tell you what I told you earlier, where the initial placement, have that on, because you'll be able to take a look at the enemy. Some of them are going to be weak to slashing, some of them will be weak to magic. You can kind of place your characters in better locations based on what sort of damage that they can do, what sort of enemies you're going to be fighting against there. So keep that in mind. And then we're going to have a 19 here, which it recommends dark elemental magic attackers, to which I say, do we have a dark element magic attacker? I'm wondering there. Yeah, obviously either or you can bring in. It recommends defense, piercing, charm, and non-type attacks. So these are things like a drain force and things of that nature, where they don't really have an attack type. They're not slashing, they're not magic, they're not piercing, they're nothing. So the enemy can't resist them with resistances. And it does recommend charm here. And charm, I want to talk about, it has been a very powerful tool, and I talked about it earlier, right? The best SR characters to level up, the best R characters to level up, all had to do with charm, because charm is very, very powerful. And you'll see in my floor 20 clear that I use charm to great effect, because you can take these very powerful characters and turn them onto your side for 3 turns at a time, and they'll just start doing a bunch of damage to themselves, and you kind of can just hang back, because you're used to going with 5 people. You charm a dude, you charm another dude, and now you have like 7 people on your team, and it's very, very powerful. And speaking of the last floor here, this is by far the hardest floor. As you can see, the enemies here are level 90. The little mini bosses, I'll call them, which are going to be Medina and Eileen and Engelbert, and then Venera, who isn't even out yet, is level 99, or they are level 99, I should say, and they are very, very hard to hit if they are the thief types. So it recommends defense, piercing, and guaranteed hit attacks. There's gonna be 4 groups, right? One each of these little mini bosses are gonna have a group. So like Medina has 2 black mages next to her. Eileen has this dark, or the soldier, I almost call him a dark knight, the soldier and this archer next to her, and they're kind of in the back. One's in the back left hand, one's in the back right hand, and then Engelbert's in the front left hand, and then Venera and her thieves are in the front right hand. And the thieves are going to try to charm you, and they're very, very, very hard to hit. So things like sharpshooter are very good, things like the holy spell are very, very, very good. If you have a thief as well, if you have sneak attack, if you sneak attack from the back side, it is also a guaranteed 100% chance to hit and a guaranteed 100% chance to crit. The way I did, I actually just kind of took a thief myself, and I used a combination of Steel Heart. I stole Venera's heart, charmed her, charmed another thief, and then we kind of took out the other guy with a holy and a sneak attack, and then I had these very hard to hit characters on my team, like Venera, just kind of just running through the enemy team. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with Charm. But that's basically going to be it for the tower here, guys. Hopefully the generic sort of principles on how to do the tower helped you out. Let me know which one helped you out the most, if any at all. And then the little bit of a rough run through each of the different floors here. I'm going to leave you guys with a bunch of different footage of me doing the 2 EX floors, the 10 and the 20. You'll be able to see the teams that I've used and the sort of the strategy that I've used. And I'll even throw in the floor 20 clear, I think, as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. If you want to see more stuff like this, guys, go ahead and leave a comment down below. War of the Visions, FFBE content, or other such things. If you want to check out the Discord, where we have a great community there, or if you want to see us live on twitch.tv, links to all that stuff is in the description as well. Until then, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.